JD, you're talking, I can't hear.
Ditto. I can hear you now, though. It was me. It was my fault.
Oh, wait. No, I can hear you. Hold on. Okay, try it now.
Yeah, you're good now. It was my fault. I didn't join the audio. I keep forgetting I have to do that when I come in the room. Stupid. I don't know why it doesn't just do it automatically.
I think I'm losing my mind.
Because I kept seeing you're moving, and I remember yesterday you were having audio issues, so I thought it was the same thing as yesterday. I don't know. Either way, we're good now.
Oh God. Okay. Let me just position myself here.
All right.
Let me
What's the
put on my
this?
Seth Rollins glove here.
Your Seth Rollins glove?
My Seth Rollins glove.
Okay.
No, you've seen him lately. He's been doing like the one-hand glove thing.
Has he? I don't know. I've just been. I actually haven't been watching. I've just been keeping up through website information.
Oh yeah, no, he's been doing that since he went with the
Messiah
Monday
gimmick?
Night Messiah sort of thing. So he's got this whole look where he's like bare-chested, hairy chest, but bare-chested with like this furry jacket like popping out on the collar, and like a single black glove on the hand. I don't know if it's the left or the right, but this was the only one I could find.
Okay.
I know
if it works, it works.
It's a look, man. It's a scene, but it's just it's weird considering he's got like this, CrossFit Jesus sort of mentality the entire time, and now he's just finally embracing it. And yet he's doing it with a costume that doesn't really say Jesus. I was expecting like something a little bit more pious instead of like dirtbag biker.
All right, let me give the intro real fast because it sounds like we're going to jump right into things. And actually, I just saw a new topic I want to throw in as well. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you and welcome back to the JT and Big O podcast. I'm Video Geek JT, known as JT McGuire as well. And joining me is the one, the only, Ryan Big O'Regan.
That's good. You actually shortened it this time because I want to make sure you don't mess up your lungs or anything in this day and age. So,
yeah, I think I'm gonna take care of my health a little bit more when it comes to doing that.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
So this week's episode, obviously, well, I should point out we haven't done a taping in 2 weeks. One half of it was just because I needed the break to get some stuff done, which Ryan was gracious enough to give me. And the other one was because, well, for anyone who's lived in the world recently, things have changed a little bit. And it's until maybe the last few days, we haven't really been able to get together.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those situations where you try to find like the best of both worlds, how we can keep ourselves safe and yet still keep things going. I've done the best I can, just putting out like little videos and little clips here and there in order to keep fans interested. But nothing beats the full show. Nothing beats the actual banter between us. So I'm glad that thankfully we've got Zoom, which apparently everyone else seems to be using Zoom, going ahead and giving us the facilities in order to do today's episode.
Which, by the way, I think we were talking about like how we were going to do this, and yeah, Zoom is actually working out pretty well, and including the fact that it's doing all the editing work for me right now too, because it's when I talk, it goes to me. When you talk, it goes to you. But
like a built-in assistant.
Yes, but we were originally looking at StreamYard, and you pointed out to me, and then immediately after that, I saw the guys over at Shared Universe using it. I'm like, oh, I guess this is the way to go. And then the next day, you were telling me about Zoom. And then I saw them go to Zoom, so it looks like people got over StreamYard very quickly.
Well, I think the thing with StreamYard is like, StreamYard is one of those things where if you want to get like a whole bunch of people together, but, really just be in charge of everything yourself, I think that's why StreamYard usually gets a little bit more utilized. Plus, I don't think the programming is as smooth with the camera work. Somehow Zoom is like studio efficient. I don't know why it's so much different. And yet, if you go into all the settings and everything, there's like stuff in there I can't even imagine using. But I know it's like for you, it's all your stuff, all the stuff that you can manage. So that's why I'm thinking, yeah, but if just for the two of us, it makes more sense to go this way.
Yeah, and like I said, it's cutting the video for me, so that's my favorite part. Anything that saves me time, I love. So today's episode, we were discussing this. I don't think we want to do a full COVID-19 episode because
God no.
I think more people want to get that off their mind more than anything else.
Right.
But
I mean, obviously, we know it's affecting everything, but it's one of those things where we have to look beyond what's going on virus-wise and just see how things are still able to be managed. There's still some entertainment in the world because we are entertainment people.
right. And you know what? Talking about entertainment, like I think you were a little right, and I was a little right on the last episode when we were talking about Wrestlemania, because you're like you couldn't see them continuing that show as it is, and I was like, well, Vince McMahon's greedy, and he's gonna do the show no matter what. Well, they're not continuing the show as it is, but they're still doing the show.
Yeah, it's a strange amalgamation of two ideas here, where it's just we figured either at the worst, either he'd go ahead and go full blown, try to get the audience there, and everyone getting like specialty WrestleMania face masks or something. Who knows? Or he was just gonna completely cut it down. And now my theory was, just push it back, maybe make it something more like a WrestleMania, SummerSlam conglomerated sort of event. But no, instead we have this weird Frankenstein monster of a 2-day, no audience from the Performance Center and various locations event, which seems completely weird and awful and yet funny, and I don't know how to accept this. I don't.
I don't know if you can really do it. It looks like I'll admit I don't really watch WWE programming anymore, other than like things here and there. But from the few things I saw, it looks like because they have no audience, they're trying to go to a semi lucha underground style, which I mean more film movie produced. Has that been a case? I saw that at least with Elijah or Elias when they threw him off a
Oh,
balcony.
this past Friday, yes,
Yeah.
with King Corbin. I mean, it should be mentioned that pretty much anything you see WWE wise from here on out is going to be pre-recorded, whether it be SmackDown, Raw, NXT, and especially the matches that are going to be going on for WrestleMania. Most of those have already been handled. So whatever you see on that Friday, that Saturday and Sunday is not going to be live, which is probably the best thing considering I think Florida's closed down a lot of the establishments that they were going to use in the first place.
Well, I think that's why they ended up taping a lot of the stuff. Well, not even specifically closing down the other stuff that they were going to use, but specifically they were the county in which the Performing Arts Center, the Performance Center is actually getting shut down. So they weren't going to be allowed to tape anything past, I believe, Thursday anyway. So they were in a mad rush to tape all this programming because they're not going to be allowed to do anymore for probably quite a bit of time.
Which in a good place, there's no spoilers because God forbid if anything leaks, you know who did it. It was somebody in the company. And that person's definitely going to be fired. But it's one of those things where, yeah, there's going to be a little bit more panache to maybe some of the matches in regards to maybe there's some cinematic elements, maybe there's some editing to it where it gives it a little bit of a faster feel. I know at least a few of the matches have already been set up as such because you have John Cena versus The Fiend Bray Wyatt doing a Firefly Funhouse match, which I guess is probably going to be set somewhere on the Firefly Funhouse. And then you've got something like AJ Styles and The Undertaker, which are going to be in a Boneyard match, which I still am not sure what that means. I don't know if that means like necessarily a buried alive match, or maybe it's taking place in like a car junkyard or something. Maybe we get Biker Taker with some chains or something. I'm not sure what's going on, and that's the beautifully wonderful weirdness of it. There's so much speculation that you can only assume what matches will transpire, how they'll transpire, what's going to go on, what the look of it is. Visually, this is going to be ridiculous. But as far as like drinking and watching, it's going to give you something to watch that weekend. if nothing else. So this way you can stop with the streaming, you can stop with the movies, the DVDs, all that stuff. You can stop talking to your family for a few hours. It's all going to be something that you can actually look at and be visually surprised.
And I think that's the only thing that's appealing me to go see it, because honestly, I don't want to see a WrestleMania with no crowd. I think the audience in wrestling really makes up the show a lot of the time. But yeah, just to see how WWE tries to pull this off over a two. By the way, it's a 2-day period. It's going to be Saturday and Sunday.
Yes, as of right now, I've got like 14 matches listed here. So I imagine it's probably going to be one of those things where it's like 7 one night, 7 the other night. They may go up to 16, but as of right now, only 14 matches have been officially listed.
But I'm one of those people who like WrestleMania to me was more of a get. I don't think anyone else does this, so maybe no one else can relate. But this event to me was sort of a holiday among me and my friends. One of my best friends, he hosts a barbecue every year, and we all hang out with him, enjoy food, enjoy company, and then watch the pay-per-view that night. So because of COVID-19, we're obviously not going to be doing that, and I don't know, it just doesn't feel as special to me. But that's just me.
No, I get it. I mean, usually when it came to WrestleMania, that was a time for me to either go to a house party or to Hooters or to any particular wings place, watch it with a bunch of people. We all get like a big old tub of beer and we all share it, something like that. Or maybe someone throws a party and we all order out. We all use our WrestleMania or official WWE glasses and drink out of them, that sort of thing. There, excuse me, because
Oh no, he's coming down with the COVID.
Don't even kid. Do not even kid. But yes, WrestleMania is a social event. It would be the same as if it was the World Series. It would be the same as if it was, uh, any kind of big sporting event. What's Super Bowl? Yeah, that's what I was going for. Super Bowl.
Yeah.
We even got Rob Gronkowski. That's how much of a Super Bowl this event is, because he's supposedly hosting the event. I don't know how the hell he's hosting the event now.
Well, he was there, so I'm assuming that they had some pre-tapes with him doing stuff, probably with Mojo Rawley or whatever.
Yeah, which, by the way, when did Mojo change? Before he was all angsty with the face paint, and now he's back to, you ain't hype. You ain't hype. It's like,
because in WWE's mind, that didn't work, so it never happened. I don't know.
Continuity is killed.
They killed continuity years ago.
True.
I know some people recently with the recent AEW I was about to say AEW Impact. This shows where my mind is with AEW these days.
Well, I mean, they do have Broken Matt Hardy now, so I mean, close enough.
Specifically in regards to Broken Matt Hardy, he did his confrontation with Chris Jericho and did this really cheesy looking teleport across the arena that you could tell was like just really bad cuts, because you could even see Chris Jericho's like in the middle of this in the ring, and you could see his head move on every cut where Matt Hardy teleports. But it's like everyone was complaining about how cheesy that was recently. And I'm just thinking WWE, they're the ones who had a leprechaun who could paint a black hole on the wall and then run through it. And then Carlito tried to follow and smashed his head into the wall.
Yes, but that was years ago when such a thing was acceptable. No, not really.
Was that ever acceptable?
No, it wasn't. It was never acceptable. That was just terrible. But no, at least AEW is kind of like leaning into the curve here, where it's like they're having their fun. They know the situation. They know what goofball stuff they can and can't do. And
I don't think they do. I think they do go a little too off on the goofball stuff. I do appreciate them, and I do like their fun-loving spirit, but when it comes to a supernatural character, I kind of like where they did late 90s Undertaker, where you didn't really know, like, was it actually supernatural or was he just tricking everyone? I think there's a fine line when you have a supernatural character. You have to kind of like blur the lines a bit. And when you have really cheesy cuts like that, it's like, no, you just kicked the wall down. You tore down the wall like it was the Berlin Wall. It's
well, I
just
mean, he
not
was
good.
with Jericho, and Jericho is known for breaking down walls. So I mean,
This is true. This is very true.
I mean, it fits. All right, for what it is, it fits. And obviously, people could take a lesson. Well, WWE could probably take a lesson from AEW and maybe not be so stringent on some of their things. I saw someone mentioning that regardless of whatever they're doing with the matches, the way they've been reacting in the shows, it's exactly like as if there was an audience there. They're still, you know, doing their little pomp and circumstance down the ring. They're still talking about all the fans, and then they'll shoot to the fans, and there's nobody in the seats. I'm like,
Oh
just
Jesus!
just change the dialogue, change the conversation a little. My God,
I
instead of being,
when it comes to WWE, I just don't know what to say anymore. I don't really like they finally killed it for me. Like I was a hardcore wrestling fan that even when they started to get cheesy in the early 2000s, I stuck it out with them and I'd watch every program. I'm at the point where I can't be bothered. Even if I have the time to watch Raw or SmackDown, I can't really be bothered to turn it on. It's there's no appeal there anymore for
so,
me.
so then here's the big question: after this, are you going to watch WrestleMania?
Out of curiosity, I'm gonna watch it. But am I excited to see this? Am I dying to see it? No, no, not at all.
Yeah, no, it's been a bit of a clusterfuck, and obviously, if it does do well in some aspect,
Oh
fine. But
God, I hope not.
I mean, I don't even know how you'd be able to measure that. I mean, do you measure it in ESPN plus views or whatever clicks the YouTube links get or whatever? I don't even know how you
So
quantify
okay, so
success.
you're a better reporter than me. I haven't really been keeping up with this. So I thought it was still gonna be on the WWE network. You're saying ESPN. So is ESPN gonna be airing this?
I think last I checked, Vince was trying to work out something in order for there to be some views on ESPN Plus, kind of like in the same way that UFC goes ahead and showcases their big events. Where if you have an ESPN Plus account, fine, and then you can go ahead and purchase the event. It may be a one price for 2 nights sort of thing, so this way you're not price gouging. But it's one of those things where he has been very hardcore about trying to make up the revenue of there not being any audience by expanding the possibility of an audience through pay-per-view buys. Now, whether or not that's been actually inked, we probably won't know until sometime middle of next week, because obviously if they do sign up, they'll have to start promoting it in order for people to be like, oh, okay, well, here's something to purchase. So I'm hoping by Wednesday there is a clear-cut answer, because if they're only relying on the network, oh,
Yeah, I
that is
doubt it.
that's
That's not
not
gonna be a
money.
good thing.
They've
No.
already lost 2 billion in revenue since the beginning of 2020. So they
Ooh.
need to find ways to make up money and stop relying on these television deals that they have.
$2
But
billion? They've lost $2 billion. Isn't that
oh yeah,
isn't that amount of money they got recently that's been saving them and keeping all those wrestlers on their payroll?
while obviously the television deals and stuff with Fox and everything, that's really been what they've been relying on. But yeah, the way the stock market has gone and the way their overall product has gone since the beginning of the year, they have lost $2 billion in revenue. They are that much more poor. They still got money. Don't think they don't have money. They've got
They
the money.
they got
But
money, but it's $2 billion. It's still $2 billion. Especially
yeah,
that's Vince
and if
McMahon's
you're
net worth
Fox,
is $2 billion.
if you're Fox Sports and you're seeing that, and you're seeing a product that you just aligned yourself with late last year, and they've sunk that much, that is a red flag. If I was Fox, I would definitely look into a renegotiation at this point, because now with WWE going down, and there's no guarantee that they're going to even be able to make that up by the time the new year comes around. Fox Sports could possibly be suffering, just like many other businesses nowadays, but certainly on the shoulders of their newest acquisition.
Well, in addition to that, I'm just thinking about this because in the time we live in, besides obviously that we're all kind of being quarantined, I have this fear that once we are all going back to work, we're going to start seeing some job losses in every section of the economy. But WWE the last few years has been really relying on that extra surplus of money they've gotten from both NBC and Fox.
And
Oh,
Saudi Arabia.
and Saudi Arabia. So now I'm kind of thinking about it and going like, well, they've been hiring people that they can't really afford to have, or do you think they're finally going to start like letting go a lot of their staff? wrestlers as well as other members throughout the organization.
I mean, if they're gonna do it, they got to do it now because really the entire landscape of wrestling is suffering. The Lord knows there have been a lot of independent shows and a lot of shows like Ring of Honor and New Japan, other organizations that have also been suffering because you know it's based upon doing live events with people around, and if you can't do that, then yeah, everyone's gonna have to cut back a little bit. I think the only reason they were holding on as much as they were was to ensure that the competition never got their hands on these kinds of assets and tried to balance the scales about what WWE could offer and what they could offer. Now, even if you go ahead and release people, there's no guarantee that they're going to get picked up anywhere simply because everybody's suffering. That's, I think for AEW alone, it's bad enough that they went ahead and they got Brody Lee,
Matt
they got
Hardy,
Matt Hardy, they got who's the one that's with Jake the Snake Roberts right now?
Lance
Lance,
Archer.
Lance Archer. So that's already like 3 big acquisitions that they've done just in the past month. I don't see them acquisiting anybody else for the foreseeable future because they just can't put on shows now, and God forbid you hide more talent.
Well,
You're going to be bleeding yourself.
AEW is a different beast than WWE. One, they don't do house shows. The only shows they actually do are the Dynamite tapings as well as the pay-per-views. So, and they're still doing those Dynamite tapings, so they're not really hurting too much.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
no. As far as I'm heard, they've been taped all the way up to like end of April or May or even like they've
and
got episodes in the can.
and I do like AEW, but let's be honest, their attendance records have been going down anyway, and from at least from what Tony Khan said, it doesn't seem to be hurting them that much. And
Oh
not to
yeah, no.
mention,
Rating wise, they're definitely doing good in the ratings at least, better
they're
than
doing good
NXT
rating
is.
wise, and TNT has also just signed them for I believe another 4 years, so they're good for 4 years with TNT.
Right. But of course, if you got that much going on, you've got to make sure that you keep the record up in order to maintain that, because they could always go ahead and pull that away if they wanted to.
They could, but I don't think they're gonna. And not to mention, I think depending on who gets released, again, we don't know if anyone's gonna get fired. I
The
know
revival.
yeah, well, revivals or they've been on their way out for a long, long time and now. I
I know,
think
I know. I feel so bad for them. Oh,
yeah, apparently they're not even getting paid anymore. Apparently they reached their downside guarantee, so they're just sitting home getting paid nothing. And that's their
so
contract. They're
they've signed for unemployment, much like all of us.
yes. Ay, 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 ay. Speaking of
All
people
right.
getting other jobs, I do want to bring this up. Did you hear about Big Show and his new TV show on Netflix?
Yes, the big show,
Yes.
which
I'll
looks in the vein of like Fuller House by the way it's landscaped.
very much so. It looks like a very cheesy 80s, early 90s sitcom, but I didn't really know about this until like literally 5 minutes before we started recording. I was actually, as we were doing the testing, I was watching the trailer for it.
Yeah.
I don't think this is going to do good, but it looks kind of interesting. I kind of feel good. I feel happy for him on that. I
Well, I
know
mean,
sad.
as far as WWE talent transitioning over to other media, yeah, he's not The Rock. That's obvious. He's not even John Cena, but he's probably better than Triple H. I would give him that. I
He makes a
remember
good
the
Jim Belushi.
yes, yeah. I remember the one movie he did. What was it? Knucklehead.
Hmm.
And he was delightfully enjoyable in that. It kind of like had like a Farrelly Brothers sort of feel to it, but it didn't go all the way. If they had gone further, I think it would have really been enjoyable. But as far as Big Show just being a personality, I mean, he's got that. He's one of those like literally larger than life personalities that you can go ahead and you can just watch the spectacle of it regardless of what's going on. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be deep writing. Obviously, it's not. But it's certainly going to be something that's enjoyable for families. And certainly, Netflix is a branch that has family friendly content that's mostly been bought up with Fuller House, One Day at a Time, a bunch of DreamWorks animated projects. So it's nice to see something else being added to where it's not just Altered Carbon and stand-up specials. And really, I don't mind Big Show as a character. I mean, I think whenever he's done his thing, he's done it as good as he can, even if it's, the constant heel turning, which I'm going to love to see when the heel turn happens in the show. No, there's just going to be one day he's going to flip out on his daughters and his wife and be like, "Rrr!" and just like choke slamming them to the wall and be like, a very special episode of the Big Show.
You think that might just be every episode? Like episode 1, he's a good guy. Episode 2, he's a bad guy.
Oh, just like switching back and
Yeah,
off.
yeah.
It's
Every
like
episode,
that mood swing.
his alignment changes every episode.
And then on the season finale, he'll have like a literal devil and angel, and that'll just be the whole episode. It's like, which way does he turn next season? Tune in to find out.
You know what? I don't know if I'm gonna actually watch this. I think if it wasn't like the family show, I think if it was maybe more based around wrestling, I think I would have been more into it.
Well, I mean,
don't.
it showcases who he is. There's no qualms about it's the Big Show from the WWE. He is a wrestler. They've shown scenes in the trailer about like him in the wrestling ring and everything. They've got Urkel working with him.
Yeah, I saw that. It's like
we couldn't get Jaleel White as a cameo in the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, but he's working with the Big Show on Netflix.
Well, very obviously he was booked up. He couldn't commit to the schedule.
Oh, I want to look at his resume and be like, did you do that? I mean, my God. What is the world coming to?
Well, it's a big show. Did I do that? I don't know.
I'm going to love to see what the theme song for this thing actually is. If they use his theme for the actual theme of the TV show, okay, fine. I'm watching the first episode. If they come up with some cheesy, organic sort of thing, then I'm like, oh, God, come on. You have it right there. Work with it.
What I want them to do is what they did for the Osbournes back in the early 2000s, where you remember they took Crazy Train and they just kind of did a cappella?
Yes. That's why it works perfect. They could do something with like, well, and then get like, just something to work with it. And it's going to be interesting to see, because obviously there is some sort of like, there's going to be probably some connection with WWE. It's going to be interesting to see if there's any cameos that come up.
I'm sure there will be.
Well, I mean, look at Fuller House. Fuller House, they probably brought back everybody from the original show, from, Jesse and Danny to even the kids that Michelle used to be friends with. I'm like,
they just brought everyone back except Michelle.
Everyone needed a pay. Yeah, well, that's the thing. Everyone needed a paycheck except the two people that probably didn't need the paycheck. But
they're like billionaires or something, so I guess
they're in fashion. They don't care about acting anymore.
I still say they should have tried to get Elizabeth Olsen to try to like at least pretend to be her sisters.
That would definitely be clever, and certainly I'm sure there's probably going to be some sort of connection about like, I've got this one of the twins and his sister. There's enough jokes you could make if you actually brought her in, but it is what it is. I mean, she's busy being Scarlet Witch. She's got a robotic husband. She's got other things to worry about.
When's that show premiere?
At this point, I'm not sure if it's going to premiere later on this year or early next year. I forget exactly if it's pre or post Eternals. All I know is that Falcon and the Winter Soldier was supposed to be coming out earlier than that, and even that's getting pushed back. So I don't know if the whole timeline of things is really screwed up now because of everything being pushed off. It's going to be interesting to see how they handle it.
Oh man, I'm so bad with names. Who's the actor who plays Falcon again?
Anthony Mackie.
Anthony Mackie. Is it me or is he all over the place right now? Because not only is he in the Netflix show Altered Carbon this season, and he's going to be in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I think I saw him in an advertisement for either a Hulu or an Apple Plus TV show. So he's going across the entire streaming landscape right now.
I don't know if it's a TV show. I think it's a movie. But I know what the one you're talking about, where it's like he and
the banker.
People, the banker, yes, yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, right now he's the new Captain America, for lack of a better term. So I mean, you got to push him. Much in the same way that Chris Evans, back when he became Captain America, people were like, him, the guy from Not Another Teen Movie. I mean, come on. But when he got the role, they started, whoever his agent was, really started pushing him in a very good light. So gotta do the same for Mackie at this point.
I'm kind of curious to see what the final thing is going to be, because you're saying like, well, he is Captain America now. Now, remember the comic books, there were two people who specifically ended up being Captain America, and that was not just Falcon, but also the Winter Soldier. So
Right.
so even though the shield was given to Falcon at the end of that, who knows? Maybe they'll do a plot twist, and the new Captain America might end up being Bucky.
It's very possible. We already know there's going to be a U.S. agent on the show,
Oh,
and
that's right.
apparently, I guess the government's going to try to usurp the name and the shield and everything, and put it under someone that they can control. Whereas Mackie was obviously a bit of a renegade. Um, I don't know if it's going to come to the point where there's going to be a Winter Soldier usage of the shield. I'm sure there will be. I do know Baron Zemo is going to be in the series as well, so I think maybe Bucky's going to be more concerned about him than anything else. And again, there's so much we don't know that we should know by now, because the show should be getting close to being premiered. But obviously, with things as they are, it's a hurry up and wait sort of situation, you know?
Well, even before all the stuff that happened within the world, I think Disney Plus has been really slow in terms of trying to release new content. But this is the interesting thing. I hate to say it, like when you were talking about all this stuff with like moving stuff to streaming and stuff, I was like, no, I can't see it. But now you were absolutely right, and I think this might even work in favor of Disney Plus, because now it seems like all this content that was going to be released in theaters might just go straight to Disney Plus. There's talk of Milan going straight to Disney Plus, and there's talk of Black Widow going straight to Disney Plus.
I mean, it's possible. Lord knows if these things happen, they're not going to get the money back that they were hoping for. That's the
Of
problem.
course.
But I think there's probably going to still be a commitment to putting these things out in theaters. Basically, there's the big story right now about what happened between Universal and Trolls World Tour. Now, obviously, for those of you who don't know, Trolls World Tour is the sequel to the semi-hit Trolls starring Anna Kendrick and Justin Timberlake, because it's that popular of a brand, I guess. They even have a
Uh-huh.
television show on Netflix. But unfortunately, because of the way things are now, Universal went ahead and proclaimed that Trolls World Tour was going to be go ahead and put on streaming same day as it's to be released in theaters, which I think the date was April 17th. Now, mind you, Universal's already gone ahead and put a lot of the other stuff that was in theaters, like Invisible Man, The Hunt, Emma. They've already put those movies on streaming. So those are movies that were in theaters, but since the theaters are closed, you can still go ahead and watch them now. I've actually done reviews about them. I would definitely suggest Emma and The Hunt. But that being said, for them to go ahead and say that Trolls, which is a brand new movie that's going to be in theaters and streaming same day, when they know the theaters may not be open, the theater chains, they are pissed. They are so pissed at Universal, because they know that Universal is pretty much just doing for themselves. Meanwhile, the concessions and the theater owners, that whole market where the theaters and the actual distributors are supposed to be like together in all this, they're supposed to be like bonded. Universal's off doing their own thing. So the theater chains are like, they've actually put out a press release about the whole thing, and they said, we will not forget this.
Okay.
As if to say, the next time Universal has like a big blockbuster movie coming out, they are going to get shafted, possibly by the theaters, possibly, still possibly, but this is what they're alluding to. So much so that Universal movies in theaters may not be able to net as much money as they used to anymore, because they may not get as many screenings, because they may not get the premiere theaters like IMAX or 3D or any of that other stuff, and they may not even be able to show them as many times, regardless of how much money it may bring in. Theater chains may go ahead and give them the low stack of viewings in charge of other people like Disney, like Paramount, like Warner Brothers, who are going ahead and being like, oh, we're still committed to the theaters. We're still going to go ahead and put things in theaters. Don't count us out. You saw that just now. I think just this past week, you saw Wonder Woman 84. They have gone ahead and they've moved their date. They're still sticking with the summer, but they're going to August, which is fine. By then, everything should pretty much cool down.
Hopefully.
But they made the release that we are still committed to our partners in the theater chains. I'm like, you are really just digging the dagger into Universal at that point by even having that released.
The thing is, Universal, which is owned by NBC, which is owned by Comcast, they're what you would call a crap company.
Wait. A crap company?
Yes. I mean, Comcast does well, but that's because they're a cable chain. They're the biggest cable chain out there, so they bring in a lot of money. I never worked for NBC Universal, but I've had people I know who have, and none of them have had a good thing to say about them. And mostly it's just talking about total mismanagement and not knowing how to do things right. And even though, again, I'm an outsider looking in, uh, I can see that even from every other move they make. Look at all these other people who are doing these streaming services, and they're doing it pretty well. CBS Access, uh, obviously ABC is with Disney, so everything they do is pretty damn good. And then you look at whatever NBC is trying to do, and Peacock. That was their big attempt to get into streaming. Peacock. Even the name is so awful. Like,
Well, what don't you like about peacocks?
just it's just
Nothing wrong with a peacock. I mean, peacocks are beautiful things.
oh yes, I'm sure a lot of people love the peacock, but uh, but again, it's like look, there's nothing good about that company. Even when I try to think of all the good things they've done over the years, the fact is, even in NBC for television is the lowest rated of all the major broadcast channels. It just doesn't feel like anything that company ever does is good. Oh, you remember Dark Universe where they're trying to restart their monster movies and every one of them failed? Seriously, does Universal do anything right these days?
That's
You can't even think of anything. That's
the only thing that comes to mind would be the Jurassic Park series. I mean, Jurassic World. I mean, regardless of what you thought about Fallen Kingdom, it's still probably the strongest franchise they got.
yeah, but Fallen Kingdom kind of fell.
It
That might
Still
not
made
have
money.
much.
It just didn't make as much money as they wanted.
Right, and it might not. It might that might be a franchise that's just going to continue to go down from there, just like the original Jurassic Park series did.
Well, I mean, they do have a third movie coming out, and they're bringing back everybody. So I don't know what that's necessarily going to mean. They're supposed to be getting
Probably not
Laura
much.
Dern. They're supposed to be getting Sam Neill. Obviously,
So Sam Neill needs another paycheck, eh?
yeah, and there's still going to be Chris Pratt, and there's still going to be what's her face that runs in heels. And I don't know what kids they're going to have in this one, but I'm sure there'll be some kids.
Got to put those
I'm
kids in danger.
Look, until we get to the point that I get Dino Riders, I don't care myself. All right, already been genetically modifying dinosaurs. Until I get a dude riding a dinosaur with a goddamn missile launcher, I don't care. Give me my freaking Dino Riders. All right.
Give me my Dino Riders
I
with
want
Bart
my
Simpson
Dino
with an
Riders.
elephant. Give me my
um,
Dino Rider.
I want my Dino Riders. There could actually be a song there. God, I gotta stop.
Oh, but yeah.
But yeah,
So
as far as the theaters are going, I mean, yeah, it's just a tough time for all entertainment. I mean,
yeah.
theater sales are closed. Drive-ins are doing well supposedly because I guess social distancing. But even then, we can't even talk about that because there's barely a drive-in theater anywhere in the area here in Jersey.
Yeah, well,
Unless you
yeah,
go to
we're in New Jersey. We're in the containment area.
we're in the heavy containment area. I've seen maps and it's like a lot of red spots everywhere, and ours is like black. So I
Yeah.
don't know what that necessarily means for us.
Again, I'm not going to get into coronavirus, but like right now, our governor has pretty much said like no one is allowed to go out unless absolutely necessary. And now Donald Trump is talking about like he's going to just lock us all in. We're not going to be able to leave the tri-state area for a while. But again, I don't really want to get into that. That is something you can look up on Google.
Yes, we're here to talk about fun stuff, about how
Yes.
there's no movies and Wrestlemania is fucked, and I don't even know what you've been doing as far as like entertainment's concerned for yourself.
Well, you're saying that the entertainment industry is kind of screwed. Well, obviously they can't make new stuff right now, but I think streaming is very obviously doing better than ever. You have all these people home and they're doing nothing but watching this stuff. I
Oh
have
yeah,
no, I was gonna say I have not gotten bored at all. I've had plenty of watch. I wish I had more time to watch it because I'm doing remote work, so I can't actually sit down and watch all the things I really want to watch.
yeah. I mean, definitely, anime has helped. I'll say that because that's at least been a consistent program that I've been able to watch. The winter of 2020 just ended.
The
Spring of
genre of
2020 has
anime
been
that's been a consistent program to watch?
programming. Yes,
Programming. I thought you said program. It's like anime, the show.
they might as well make anime the show at this point. I mean, make it a reality series. See who can draw the
No, they tried that.
otaku the
That's
fastest.
no, no,
You
no.
know,
I think they've tried that. That's not a good idea. Well, they tried the cosplay one. That was awful.
there
Uh,
was a cosplay one.
yes, which I think Sci-Fi Channel hosted years ago.
Well, I know Sci-Fi did Who Wants to Be a Superhero with Stan Lee. I didn't know
No,
there
no,
was like
this is a different one. It was sort of like that, except it was who wanted to be like a cosplay star or something like that. It, I never
would
watched
they
it, but
get
I've
Jessica
heard of it.
Nigri of like who do you get to
It, it
host
it's
that?
it's best we ask no questions on this. Put it out of your minds.
But
Uh,
no, referring to what you said, yeah, it was reported that the streaming networks have all seen an upkick in activity and sponsorship and subscriptions. So it's one of those things where, like I said, streaming, at least for now, is the end all be all because that's really the best way you're going to get anything going on, especially with the news channels, the major networks. As much as they probably have their content programming, they've also got all the news reports about all the virus stuff, and maybe you just don't want to see that, so you go to a place that's just television, that's just movies and no news. Pure escapism for you and the family, or maybe just you and screw the family. It depends on how you think.
yeah, I feel like I'm abnormal to everyone else, but yeah, I work in the news industry, and I've been home for 2 weeks working remotely. And honestly, unless I'm working, I do not put the news on. I don't need to watch that right now. I rather just kind of lose myself in like episodes of Star Trek or some sort of cartoon or something like that.
Oh, what you mean, like Picard, like the new one, or
No,
older
no, no.
show?
Right now. Well, you know what? I will suggest for anyone probably to watch Picard, but I have not watched it yet. I am attempting right now to watch every episode of the Next Generation and the four Next Generation movies before I move on to Picard.
Wow, so you were just doing the complete backlog before you
Y-
get to the new stuff.
Yes, because I used to watch the Next Generation as a kid, but I only really saw like the last season of it, so I don't really, I don't know too much about the Borg and all that stuff. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna try to go through this. Netflix
well
has the entire series right now, so why not?
well, wait, hold on. So you're only going for Next Generation and the Next Generation movies.
Yes.
But what about Star Trek Voyager in regards to Seven of Nine?
Oh, that's well. She only had one episode, correct?
No, she's been consistent throughout the series of Picard.
All right. Well, I'm just barely getting through the Next Generation right now. Not saying the show is bad, but 24 episodes a season, hour-long episodes, and 7 seasons. That's already a challenge right now.
It, it's a slog, yes, especially when it was one of those shows. Basically, it was a syndicated show, wasn't it? It wasn't
Yes.
really on any particular network.
Yeah, for us in the New York, New Jersey area, it was on WPIX, which is like the fifth broadcast channel in this area, and that was
It's
their biggest show in the late '80s, early '90s.
Yeah, before we ended up with the CW, we were getting all the syndicated stuff on there and Channel 9,
Yes.
which was
Th-
WWOR, I believe.
yes. I actually
Yeah.
loved those channels before freaking who came in and took those? I think it was a mixture of Fox and Warner Brothers. That was a
Warner
shame.
Brothers took Channel 11 because that's when you got the WB with Michigan J. Frog and all the promos. Welcome to the WB. That
Yes.
bullshit that apparently was still like racist even then. Um, and then I think on Channel 9, it was UPN that first
Yes.
came onto the scene, which was, I guess, United Paramount Network. I think it had something to do with Paramount.
Possibly. I never actually knew the letters for UPN. I just knew it was a network. But at one point I do know like CW was the combination of those two, UPN and WB merged. That's what the CW is.
Exactly.
Uh and then in our area, I don't know if this happened for everyone else. Fox came out with this thing called My Whatever. In our area, it's My Nine, and that's what
My
kind of
9.
took over programming over there.
Yeah, but My 9 doesn't really have anything like serialized or anything like that. At best, it has like cop shows and talk shows.
They don't even have news. They
Yeah.
replaced their news with a magazine.
See, this is why you need to go to streaming because even television doesn't know what the fuck it's doing nowadays,
No,
man.
no, it doesn't. You know what? Yeah, if Netflix just had their regular newscast that they upload at like 6 p.m. at night, I'll be fine with that.
Uh, I could imagine what it was like, if we still had like the WB and if we still had UPN, we still had like episodes of Buffy and Angel, and we still had the Wayans brothers, and we still had Kids WB on Saturdays. We still got the Animaniacs, but now
I,
everything's going to the other streaming channels.
well, that's just the world we live in. It's not really better or worse. It's just kind of different. But I'm liking the streaming. I actually like I said, I've been home for now 2 weeks. I hurt my back, so they have been allowing me to remote work from home. But I ended up for the first few days watching a show called Star versus the Forces of Evil, which is an old cartoon from Disney.
Gonna
I
get a little weird, gonna get a
Yes.
little wild. I'm not from around here. I'm from another. That song sticks in your head like an earworm. I swear.
Yeah, not just that song, but the season one opener is freaking amazing. Even if I don't feel like watching the show, I'll put on the intro just to watch like the smooth animation of that. I was kind of embarrassed watching that first. I'm like a 34-year-old man, and I'm watching this cartoon about a 14-year-old girl, and I'm like, why do I like this so much? And then I looked up the creator of the show. It's a 34-year-old woman who was a fan of Dragon Ball Z and Sailor Moon when she was a kid. I'm like, oh, she's my generation watching the same thing. That's why I like this
Creating
show.
the same thing, yes. But yeah, I mean, you see a lot of those kinds of shows now, though. That's the thing. It's like between Steven Universe, Star and the Forces of Evil, Gravity Falls. Um, there's just a lot of shows that kind of have like that same kind of feel to them. That even Adventure Time to a lesser extent, because I think their just overall feel was a little darker. But you have a lot of these animated shows that's kind of like it's made by our generation for the next generation, but it's kind of incorporating all the things that we really enjoyed. And I think that's where you bridge the gap. Before then, television cartoons were simply made to sell toys. Now it's just about the storytelling, which is amazing in many respects. That there's something that the kids will just be able to look at all the flashing colors and lights and be like, "Yay, this is great." And then as they get older, they can still appreciate the show rather than say, "Oh, that's kid stuff."
Well, I think for the network, it's still all about making the toys. But I like the fact that these creators have been smart enough that they have been able to sneak in this better storytelling. Specifically, the shows that you mentioned, maybe not so much Gravity Falls, because I feel like Gravity Falls had a vision right from the beginning. But specifically, Star, Steven, and Adventure Time, they all had sort of this non-sequential storytelling, and then like they started sneaking in all this plot that like you had to keep following it because there was a bigger story in the background. And I think that's what's making people go back to these shows the most. And I think it's just weird. It's like it feels like that was not the direction they were trying to go with these shows, but it just went that direction and it worked.
Well, I think if any time you're doing like an animated series, I think yeah, the first season just has to be like an eclectic amount of episodes before you actually get into anything linear. This way, you introduce all the characters, you introduce the mentalities behind them, you give a little bit of the backstory, but not too much. And then once this first season is over, then you can go ahead and be like, "There's a bigger picture here," and like at least you give them the first season to get the investment in.
Mm-hmm.
You see it a lot with anime, and I think that's also been bleeding over to Americanized animation.
And speaking of anime, real quick, and I know this is like an old school episode. We're just going all over the place with our topics, but I ended up among my binge watching during this time at stuck at home. I finally caught the anime in Specter. Did you watch that by any chance?
Yes. Oh, I love it. I love it.
You love that show. I
Yes.
am lukewarm on it. I just finished it last night. I admit I'm saying I'm a show I'm lukewarm on, and I binged it all the way till 1 o'clock in the morning. But I don't know. Something about it doesn't feel right. Like it feels like a really really good plot, but not the best executed.
Well, because it's a lot more methodical. It's not like other supernatural animes where it's kind of like you got a monster of the week and you have to go ahead and defeat it, and then there's like
It
whatever love triangles going on. This is
it's a lot more
a
exposition.
Well, for the except for like maybe the first couple of episodes, this is all about one particular case. This is a mystery. This is pretty much just trying to solve who is responsible for this particular specter and how to defeat them.
Mhm.
And it's methodic like that. I
But maybe too methodical. It like when you get animation, my opinion on animation is you really got to drag people in through the visuals and the movements and stuff. And very obviously, what I'm seeing with a lot of these animes, because it looks like these companies are pumping out as much content as they can. They don't always put their best effort into a lot of these animations. And with this show, a lot of it is just dialogue. So there's not a lot going on in animation other than the main character talking a lot, and then maybe some visuals here and there in the background.
Well, that's the difference between like animation here and animation over there. As far as anime is concerned, anime is as realistic as say live action shows. So you have a lot of all this kind of subgenres that you have for like regular television, whether it be a medical drama or a police drama or a sitcom or a dramedy or some sort of horror like American Horror Story and stuff like that. You just do all that, but with ink and paint. So I can see them doing things where there's a lot more monologue, a lot more exposition, a lot more talking rather than action, because they see anime as any other's form of videography. It's just how it is for them. You see certain movies, you see certain television shows where it's very slow, very nuanced. Romantic dramas, romantic comedies. You see all that sort of stuff, and the visuals aren't necessarily always there, except maybe once or twice. But a lot of it's just been more the interpersonal communication. So from an acting standpoint, I can appreciate that you're giving something where you really need good actors to relay the feelings and thoughts that these characters are doing, because Lord knows there's not a lot of action in them.
But I don't know. I have to go with my gut on this. Again, it's there's a lot of things I like about it, but the actual execution, I mean, I feel like something was missing. Like even for something that is more verbiage than visual, I feel it could have been somehow been done better. But that's my opinion.
Well, I mean, quality of it being better or worse, I mean, that's always going to be subjective. I personally really enjoy Inspector. I really want to see how this thing ends up. I really want to see if this is going to be like an ongoing thing, if they have a season two, or if season two is going to be drastically different. Obviously, it may be a whole different case. And I think to see who of these main characters that we're looking at actually stick around for that, or if they're just gone when the case is gone. I really want to see a season two of this, because it's one of those few shows that I feel like I can get in depth with intellectually, rather than just, you know, a show being all fan servicey and goofy like
Well,
other animes can be.
even from an intellectual standpoint, I don't think it was overly clever. Like like I saw how she resolved the issue, and I won't give any spoilers,
No spoilers. Yeah, no
but
spoilers.
I don't think what she did was overly clever. It worked because hey, that was how the plot was going to go. Like whatever she did was going to work. But I'm like, it's kind of weak. Again, that was my opinion of it.
Well, you also think this is like what, a 13 or 16-year-old girl. I forget. I
19.
can't help. Is she 19?
She's 19.
Oh fuck.
Anime.
Yeah. When you're as old as you don't look. But
Well, in fairness, the show goes from her being 11 to 19. Like the first two episodes, she's 17, and then there's a 2-year jump, and then
right,
she's 19 by the end of that.
right.
Yeah. Otherwise,
That
yeah,
explains the relationship between him and her. But
it'd be a little
again,
creepier.
that
Otherwise,
like that's ever stopped anime before. All
no,
right, look,
but
for all their artistic endeavors, they got some creep in them. All right, we
yes.
know this. But the thing is, like, for as young of a girl as she is, still a teenager. Let's just preface that. Still a teenager, and to be able to come up with the mental gymnastics that she does in order to get to these resolutions. There are 19-year-olds I know that can't even handle a bottle of beer. All right. So, I mean, more kudos to her for being like the god of wisdom as far as all things are concerned.
Eh, I don't think it's a spoiler because it's mentioned like right in the first episode. But yeah, like this is a girl who lost her eye and her leg, so you could say she's probably a little bit tough.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she did that in order to have the expanse of brain activity that she does.
Well,
Sacrificing the
no,
physical for mental.
I think they even mentioned it's like she didn't really gain any powers out of this. She just agreed to something, and this was the price. But she didn't really gain anything other than a position out of it. There wasn't any additional powers she received.
I don't know about that. I mean, they said that,
Well, I think they
they made
established
her
that
a
in the
god.
first episode. Uh,
Right.
well, again, they gave her the title, but they didn't actually give her powers. And I think even she and even the other character, the main character, I'm terrible with names. They mentioned both in the first episode that she really didn't gain any powers. She just became their consultant.
Yeah, but still, that's a smart ass consultant. I mean, put me in that situation, I don't know if I would have been able to come up with the resolution that she did.
Well, she even said like they're. I guess she is pretty smart because she does say like they're pretty dumb in comparison to her. So that's her logic.
Right. It's kind of like a Tony Stark sort of thing. It's like before he puts on the Iron Man suit, he's still the smartest guy in the room,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of
He's
alcoholism.
I am Iron Man. So all right, so moving away from anime real quick, let's talk a little bit about let's talk about video games. So two games came out recently in the middle of all this horror to keep us all entertained.
Horror.
One of them has a little bit of horror in it. Doom Eternal and Animal Crossing. And the
Well, I thought
coolest
you meant
thing,
Animal Crossing had the horror because, walking, talking animals, it just creeps me out, man.
yeah, yeah, I was saying to you the other day, and I think there was a little bit of confusion because I was saying people were getting deleted from community, and it sounded like I was trying to say like there's some discussion forum somewhere that people are getting deleted from the Animal Crossings community. No, what I was trying to say is apparently if you're playing the game, I've never played Animal Crossing. If you've played Animal Crossing, you can correct me on this, but from my understanding is you're building your own town in your own community with all these animals, some people and apparently, I guess there's a thing that if you want to get rid of someone from the community, you can. But in the game, because it's a video game and it's data, I think it says, "Do you want to delete someone from your community?" And for whatever reason, that made me laugh my ass off. Like, would you like to delete this person?
It's very morbid.
Delete.
Very delete. No. But wrestling aside, yeah, I mean, Animal Crossing. I hate to say it, but it came out at the perfect time because you've got a lot of people that are going to be away from their families, from friends, from community, and instead now they have a digital one that they can go ahead and immerse themselves into. So I can imagine a lot of people just sitting there on their switches, walking around their own house, but feeling like they're walking around outside. And it's almost genius to a fault, because who knows what it's going to be like, for how long it's going to stand up for, because the people may be in for months. And even then, once you've had enough time around Tom Nook, he's probably going to be a little annoying after a while.
I've never played the game, so I don't understand it too well. You probably need to explain it a little bit more to me. My assumption of it is it's some sort of role playing game where you're building a community. It's almost like Sims, but with cute
Yeah,
little
essentially,
animals.
it's like a very cute, fluffy Sims. That's probably the best way to put it.
But yeah, even though I haven't been playing it, I have been watching other people on social media talk about it. So it does, from what you're saying, it sounds like that's the case right now. All these people are just connecting to this game to connect to other people.
Exactly. Whereas on the other tip of what you said, those of us who are probably enraged and angry and wish we could knock out viruses ourselves, you got Doom Eternal,
Yes.
which just blood and guts enjoyment for the whole family.
I admittedly have not played this game. I haven't played any game really in a very long time. I should change that one day. But I've been watching some people play it online, and it looks as good as the 2016 version.
If not better, yeah.
Yeah.
It really looks like they've upped everything in regards to it. Even if it's the storyline and the lore is kind of like, it drags it all down to a crawl, but then you just jump right back into it.
Well, what I love about the lore of this game is the fact that the main character does not really bow down to the lore. So you'll have other characters around him talk about lore, and he's just sort of like, fuck it, kill things now.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Master Chief sort of thing, where it's just like a dude in a green suit that kills people.
Yes.
That's all you got to worry about.
Yeah, it's like,
There's a greatness to the simplicity of, regardless of all the different functions you have to do, all the different guns you got to cycle out through, all the gymnastics that you got to do in the game. It's just a run and gun.
and yeah, that's, I don't know. Maybe that's the only reason I haven't really gotten to it. It's like I don't want to think right now. And for the most part, you're running through people, but then there are the parts where like, shit, where do I go now? And it's just like, I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. See, I'm burned out.
No, I mean, there's definitely an enjoyment to it. I would play it myself, but I'm cheap,
Oh
so
yeah, it is a $60.
yeah. So I mean, money being as tight as it is, I'll stick with my free games like Paladins and Brawlhalla and Fortnite.
For
So I can work with.
$5, you can get Doom 64 for Nintendo Switch. I saw that game out.
Yes, but I have to get a Nintendo Switch, which is even more
Oh,
money.
that's true. Well, that's the thing, though. I guess Doom Eternal was not coming out on Nintendo Switch, which is probably the reason why Animal Crossing was also released that day. But
Yeah,
obviously, they wanted to catch on it somehow. So they're like, well, you can't play this one, but here's Doom 64 for you.
yeah, and much like the streaming industry, I can only imagine that gaming is going to go up at this point. I mean, there's definitely been notifications about when we're going to get a PS5 or the new Xbox Series, um, even if stuff has been kidnapped and held for ransom. But at least gaming, I don't think is going to be suffering, even though gaming has been kind of sort of been on and off as regards as popularity. But I think now more so than ever, if any gaming companies are smart, they might want to push up their dates and actually maybe release a couple of things now while you have the audience full at attention to go ahead and take it in, rather than whatever later dates you may have when things get better and then they start venturing off into other things. Once the movie theaters open up, once concert halls are able to be safe to go to, if you have a game, put it out either this month in April or next month in May, whatever it may be.
Well, you know what the thing is I'm not really on this, but a lot of people are still really into buying the physical game. So I think that's part of the release day is the fact that people won't be able to go out and buy the physical game. Though, if you want to buy the physical game, apparently GameStop is still trying to sell you stuff right now.
Or at least they were. I mean, they
No,
have.
they're still trying to. I don't know if you saw this, but in Massachusetts, they're still open up there, even though they've been told to close. Their only policy now is you have to pay at the door. And apparently they're being told to like put your hand into a plastic bag and then reach out the door to the customers to trade off the money and the game. It's
Isn't that how a
crazy.
drug deal happens? I mean, what
It
the
sounds
fuck,
like
man?
it. It's here's the thing with that company. It is on death's door. The entire video game retailer is on death's door, and I think they're kind of seeing an extended period of time being closed as a death sentence to them. So they're forcing their employees to go in during this crisis to work, even though I'm sure that no one's really going out right now to buy physical copies of video games. I'm sure, like, if you really want a physical copy, you'll probably either go on Amazon or guess what? The manufacturers actually sell the games on their websites now, so you can get them to ship the physical game to you. All right, and again, worst case scenario, just download the game, just buy the download copy. But I don't know. I could see the desperation from GameStop, but it's ridiculous. It really is.
Well, I mean, I don't know what to necessarily say about GameStop. I don't think I've actually bought a physical game from GameStop since I think the beginning of last year when I picked up Kingdom Hearts 3, and that was just because it was like the special collector's edition with like the steel bookcase and everything. But I don't know. To me, it's different than like with movies. Like I'll still go out and get like physical media of movies, simply because God forbid if Netflix or Hulu ever crashed or slowed down or something, or it kept like rebuffering to the point where I couldn't watch something. At least I've got like maybe a physical copy of something that I can watch. With games, you don't necessarily have that luxury because not everything is backwards compatible.
No.
So buying games in general seems like a fruitless endeavor now that we have more of a streaming digital age where everything can be downloaded and saved onto a hard drive. So to buy an actual physical game, it's counterproductive in my mind.
There are some benefits, I will admit. I do know I screwed myself over a while back because I wanted to play Breath of the Wild, but I only had a Wii U at the time, so I bought the software copy of that. And then later on, when I was ready to get rid of the Wii U, I couldn't really sell that game because I didn't have a physical copy. That's forever on my Wii U account, which is not tradable anyplace else. So
Right,
there's
but that seems
$60
like
down the drain.
that seems more like a Nintendo issue rather than the difference between like physical and digital
Well,
consumption.
that's any type of video game system. I mean, there's PlayStation 3 games I bought that I'll never, once get rid of my PlayStation 3s, I'm never going to be able to trade that game in any place else. Same thing with Xbox One. And well, I never bought an Xbox, but I'm sure it is like people are in the same situation. That's the difficulty of buying a downloaded game. You're still paying the full price as you would be for the physical media, but once you're getting rid of the hardware, you can't really get any money back on the software.
Right. It would be different if there was a way you could just like upload it to a cloud, and then once you've actually like traded to a different system, if you can like download certain specs of it, so this way if you wanted to play it, you'd have like a backup download to do with. And they always recommend back up all your data, put it on an external hard
Mhm.
drive, do that sort of stuff, so this way it's not all cluttered up on your console. And then this way, when you get to access it, if you want to access it, it's there separately.
Which would be a very nice thing, but I don't think these video game companies ever do it because they make a lot of money off of it, and the people are silly enough that they keep buying it. I myself, I just mentioned Breath of the Wild. I bought a Switch. I bought Breath of the Wild for it. I literally bought Breath of the Wild twice for two different video game systems. That's $60 each. That was not a fun thing to do.
Did you at least finish it?
I did not. I have not finished any Zelda game in my entire life because I don't know. I love Zelda. I just have a hard time. And Breath of the Wild was it's a fun game to play, but I'm already mentally taxed on a lot of things in my life. So when I in my free time, I like to kind of relax a bit. And when it's like, well, you have to know to collect all this stuff and collect that stuff, and you have to be ready for this. Like
But you own the
this is too
sword and
much
the
work.
shield, though. I mean, come on.
I like Zelda. I'm literally wearing a Zelda Breath of the Wild jersey right now. I like the games and I like the characters, but it doesn't always make keep me interested for long periods of time. It's video games for me are a break, and I don't get too many.
Well, you got a lot more break now than you would have. So who knows?
Surprisingly, I don't. I'm still working a lot. I'm doing the podcast with you today. I still work 8-hour shifts even though it's from home. So yeah, I'm still running around.
Well, that now it just made me feel bad.
No, I'm not trying to make you feel bad. I'm just it, it's everyone's a little different within this crisis. I gotta say, I've seen a lot of people who are going stir crazy in their houses. I am not one of them. I am more than happy to stay home for the next 6 months. I'm more than fine with that. I got my anime, I got my video games, I got my internet. I'm happy. I'm sound as a pound.
Yeah, this is one of those the geek shall inherit the earth sort of scenarios. I feel, all the people that are either otaku or otaku adjacent, they are just going to be able to stay inside and live life regardless of what's going to be going on. Whereas other people may not be able to handle the
No.
inclusion and seclusion of being at home with all that media.
Yeah, I was debating if I would mention any of my friends and what I've seen them doing during this period of time to keep them entertained, but I'm gonna be nice. But I've seen a few things where I'm like, do you need help? Just in a few cases.
This doesn't have anything to do with the video I put out the other day where I just pretty much chug a bottle of wine while listening to Fozzie's Judas.
No, it doesn't.
Okay, good.
It
Good.
actually it's a funny story, but I don't really want to. I don't want to point out
No.
anyone.
Obviously, we're not going to drop dime on anybody outside of the show, but
But how you're actually more of an extrovert than I am. I'm very obviously an introvert. How are you holding up in your house?
well, I mean, I've been trying to do the videos as best I can, or at least trying to come up with concepts that'll be long term going. I've actually got a concept for a whole slew of videos that I'll probably be putting out in the past couple of days, in regards to International Women's Month, which is March, and unfortunately, women have kind of gotten the bum's rush on this, with everyone not really being able to do anything. So charitable fundraising and all that has kind of gone out the window. But I'm at least going to do a whole bunch of videos about the women in my life and giving them a little bit of a showcase.
Oh,
Obviously,
that's nice.
friends, family, that sort of thing. So that's going to keep me occupied as to which ones I want to talk about and which ones I want to be like, fuck you. But it'll give me something to distract myself. Obviously, there's things I've been doing in regards to acting work, or at least trying to get acting work. I've gone ahead, started working on an audio reel, so this way I can do voiceover work. Which, by the way, did you get a chance to listen to that one or no?
I listened to bits and pieces of it.
Did you like any of the bits and pieces? Any particular voices that may have stood out?
Was there an Irish bartender in there at one point?
Yeah, that's pretty much just me and my Irish accent.
That one stood out. Maybe because I'm Irish and I can't do an accent. So,
well, when you've watched the Boondock Saints as many times as I have in my lifetime, you kind of got like a little bit of a pickup on that. There was a point, and I hate to say this, considering St. Patrick's Day is already come and gone this year, but normally when I would go ahead and celebrate St. Patrick's Day, I would actually go up to New York City, dressed to the nines in whatever green outfit I could conceptualize at that time. Whole bunch of green necklaces around my neck, kind of like how you saw when we went to the Shared Universe podcast, but even more so. Like I would almost have a whole slew of them around my neck, and then like a bucket of green necklaces, like a little pot of gold, but it's a pot of green, and I'd like throw them out to people, and people would go ahead and like buy me drinks and stuff like that. And there was a little one with a little dial on it where it's like you spun it and you either took a chug of something or a shot or you did a jig. I got people dancing because of that stupid thing. But the tip off was, especially if I went to a place and I didn't know anybody and they didn't know me, I would actually pull out the Irish accent and I'd give them a whole backstory as to me coming from Ireland. I just came to visit. My family's from this side of the world. My other family's from here. And, the accent was genuine enough that they're like, oh, wow, dude, this guy's from Ireland. He's actually from Ireland. Get him a beer, man.
in
I'm like,
fairness, most of them are drunk that day, but
exactly. So it works. It works well. You know, if you're gonna hear any kind of accent and have some believability, it might as well be an Irish one. And the problem was when I got myself a little bit too tipsy, and then my Irish started turning into Scottish because
Scottish,
I'd be
yeah.
getting a little angry. So I'd be going ahead and I'd be talking like this a little bit, and then all of a sudden I'd be talking like this, and it's like the transition is just like a little more gravelly. It's like, oh god, what happened to him? It's like I'm from another side of the world. You know, it's like it's not good at that point.
Yeah, there's such a subtle difference in that. Every time I've ever tried to do an Irish accent, it definitely sounds more Scottish than Irish. But it is such a subtle difference. Like you have to know it.
It's just about how much you actually put in the throat. An Irish accent has like a light throat feel. So you can go ahead and think of it like as if I was talking about going to Liverpool, and you're going to someplace like that, and you have like that little bit of like just a little bit of a fastness, but a little bit of a calmness to it, and you can go ahead and talk on, talk on, talk on. There's no problem for it. But then once you put a little bit more in the throat, you get that Scottish, you get that Scrooge McDuck sort of kiss me kill sort of bagpipes feel. You know, it's just a little bit of the accent right there in the throat for you.
Nice. I
It
I'll be
works.
I'll be honest though. You're talking about how you go out during those things. I never ever want to go to another New York City St. Patrick's Day parade if I can avoid it in my entire life.
Really?
Uh
What happened?
I guess it's just my introvert nature, and it's just I love Manhattan, but I don't like the people. And during St. Patrick's Day, it's just way too many people out there, and it's too much for me. I left work that day, and I'm actually St. Patrick's Day. The parade, I forget, is it on Sixth Ave or Fifth Ave?
Fifth
Fifth.
usually.
So
It
I'm
crosses right by St. Patrick's Cathedral.
So I don't know if I'm giving away where I work or not, but I work just around off of Park Ave, Lexington Avenue, and so I have to cross over that to get to the train station all the way on 34th and 7th, and it was near impossible to get through that thing. It's like you're going through waves and waves of drunk people, who, by the way, most of them aren't even Irish. Like the majority of the people I ran into were not Irish, and it's just like, why are you even here? You're just an excuse to get drunk.
Right. No, I mean that's fair. That's fair. Lord knows enough people go ahead and they cop the nationality for the day just so they can go ahead and put on a shirt that says "Kiss me, I'm Irish." I used to have a joke about this back when I did stand up about how I'd go ahead and see four Middle Eastern dudes in a bar and they were all having car bombs, and I'm just like, nope, nope, nope. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. Um, and it's one of those things where I can't fault people for wanting to go ahead and propagate the idea of like, hey, it's St. Patrick's Day, let's celebrate. Because really, that's all the Irish have. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, corned beef and cabbage is bullshit. You know, we got kicked out by
Eh,
potato famine. At one time, the Irish were as persecuted as many other nationalities and races in this country. And yeah, if we at least have like the one day where everyone wants to be Irish, I'm not gonna hate on it. So I mean, put on your green shirt or whatever, fine. But you know, I would almost. The thing is, it's always funny to me because St. Patrick's Day in Ireland is nothing like St. Patrick's Day in America. St. Patrick's Day in America, we almost take an abusive relationship with the name and the nationality and everything. Whereas St. Patrick's Day in Ireland, it's as calm as any other day. Just maybe a few more people have a few more pints, and that's about it.
I think most of the tri-state cultures that came here in that period of time, both the Irish and the Italians, they are nothing like their counterparts in the actual countries of Italy and Ireland. It's
Right.
we kind of changed once we came to America.
Yeah, we really changed the nomenclature of what that's going to be. Um, and really, I mean, fuck Italians, man. Oh man. Uh, like you can't help but have your heart felt out to them, but you know, it's weird because you want to feel the sympathy for Italy and itself with everything that's gone on. But here in the tri-state, when you think about Italians, all you think about is Jersey Shore motherfuckers and mobsters, and it's like I want to feel, but like this is the people I know, and it's like I don't like them, but I care about these poor people that are dying. But screw the shore people, and it's like all the bennies, and we're very conflicted here in this state.
Yes. I'm debating. Do I want to put my 2 cents on this? And my gut is telling me no.
Yeah, no, I'll take the brunt of it. That's fine. I don't care. But again, this was back in the stand-up days where I had these thoughts and feelings, and regardless of whether or not the past years have changed any of that, that's just the way it was back when it was prominent.
Well, things have changed a lot recently. I've actually, like I said, I've been working home remotely, so I've been luckily avoiding the city successfully so far.
Hmm.
Once I am kind of forced to go back, it'd be kind of curious to see how it looks right now because Manhattan is, for anyone who's never been to Manhattan, it is a weird beast. I start work at 4 o'clock in the morning. That means I'm usually in the city by around 3:30, 3:45. And it's the roads are still like crazy even then. So to see it like dead, it'd be the weirdest thing in the world to me.
Like a little Walking Dead sort of thing where just
Almost.
abandoned.
Yeah. Only once in my entire life have I seen an empty New York City. And this is 1 hour after the New York City Thanksgiving Day parade when everyone's like, okay, we need to go home and eat now. That is
Yeah,
the only time I've ever seen it dead.
now I can imagine that. I've never seen the city the day after St. Patrick's Day, so I can't imagine if it's any clearer.
It's not.
Um, it's
I
not.
have seen it after St. Patrick's Day.
Still drunks and people with hangovers rummaging around, just trying to find pizza.
Well, that's every day, but a few less. Uh,
But no, you're right. I mean, with everything going on, it's going to be one of those things where it's weird once you everyone tries to get back into it, and it's going to be uneasy. Actually, I just saw a report the other day. Um, Air pollution has taken
yeah,
a
I saw
stark
that too.
downturn because of nobody being active. I'm like, maybe this is something we should do. Just every so often, just take like a week off every 2 or 3 months and just try to downscale everything.
It just should. Well, we were trying to. In fact, it's coming up Earth Day, which I believe is April 22nd. That was supposed to be the like relax and give Earth a break day, but yeah, who thought that like just a few weeks of not doing anything would lower the amount of pollution and restore the ozone layer? That's crazy.
Well, I mean, if we keep doing what we're supposed to be doing, I don't see that happening. But if we did it, Lord knows what could happen. I just hope the people on Earth Day will go ahead and just take like a little bit of a sideline, and be like, oh, they'll take Greta Thunberg and just like put her on the sidelines and not be so hard up on the environment right now because really there's nothing we can do about it.
But I said I wasn't going to get political, but if I can say one thing, I think this has all kind of taught us is, yeah, our economy is set up in a way that doesn't really sustain this very well, and I hope that maybe some lessons come out of this that might lead to some improvements down the line. Hey, they did prove that like almost 60 to 70% of us can work from home.
Yes, but they also said that those of us with depression are probably going to be way worse now than we were
Uh,
before.
this is also true.
Yeah, it's an ebb and a flow sort of thing. I mean, I can only imagine the amounts of alcoholism that have probably excelled on this. I can only imagine people with their eating habits probably. People with eating habits, they've even gone one way or the other. Either they've taken this time and they've just been working out from home and they're going to come out of the house with a six pack, or they've just been sitting at home depressed and eating whatever is in the fridge and probably some things that aren't in the fridge, and they're going to come out of this looking worse.
Surprisingly, yeah, I'm actually kind of in one of those camps. I haven't been exercising because again, hurt myself, but I've actually been eating healthier than I have in maybe years, just kind of staying home and reserving food. So
Did
it's
you buy enough toilet paper? That's the important thing.
uh
That's key number
actually
one. Make sure you have enough toilet paper for
yes.
all the days that you will be stuck at home and pooping.
I don't know, man. We've been making fun of all these people for a while, but who was truly wrong now? It's like, why are you buying all the toilet paper and now you're going out to buy and there are none? So I think those people won.
Yeah, but I mean, there's workarounds. I mean, you paper towels, tissue papers.
I had one person say to me, "Why are you buying paper towels? Just take a shower." I'm like, "Because no,
Just no. Just that.
no." So why aren't you just taking a shower? Just use the shower. Like I'm not gonna take a shower every time I need to use the bathroom.
Well, certainly not for number two, no.
No.
But I mean, number one, if you have to swing it, I mean, Lord knows kids do it at the beach bad enough.
Well,
Think about it. Last time you went to the beach, or last time you went to a community pool, are you going to tell me that you felt secure going into the water, knowing that probably little kids just went ahead and pissed in it because they didn't know any better?
probably because I keep that thought out of my head, and that the ocean's a very big ocean.
Yeah, but the waves aren't that strong.
Well, the other thing to think about too, and I should probably stop making noise on the microphone with my freaking charger. I'm fiddling here. Uh, I do want to throw out, I guess, a little bit of support towards a shared universe, because yeah, they had that new site right on the boardwalk, and now the boardwalk is closed, so they can't use that site for the foreseeable future.
Yeah,
In
no, that is
fact,
true.
I don't know if they can actually record from their home studio right now. They've been primarily taping from Zoom. So
Oh yeah.
there are a lot of businesses. I'm thankful if one thing, that I do have a full-time job that does pay me well and has some job security. But yeah, there are a lot of people out there right now that that do need some support, and I don't know what I'm advocating for right now, because I have no one to advocate directly for. But I just throwing out my at least verbal support for those people.
Just saying. I mean, people that need support. I mean,
Yes. And people such as Ryan too, who is an actor, police hire, and
well, I
bartender,
mean,
and various other.
yeah, I'm full gig economy, whether paycheck or not. So it's not been easy. I'll just go out and say that this entire month has kind of been like a big fu up to me, and yeah, it's hard. So I mean, the more I stay in, the better. So that's why I'm not spending money needlessly. But if you would like to donate to at least the Big O part of JT and Big O, uh, you can find me on Venmo and Cash App at Ryan OROE. That is Ryan OROE. Donations can be any amount you want.
So before we go, I got to talk about all the stuff that I was watching during this time stuck in the house. I forgot to ask you what you were watching. So have you been catching anything new?
Oh, I've watched so many things. Way too many things. So, um, I mean, aside from movies, because obviously I've got my expansive movie collection. Which, hold on, let me see if I can even show you. Let's see. If I open this up, I open this up, and I spin it around.
Wow,
That
that is
entire
a
cabinet,
lot.
plus the drawer. But yeah, last I counted, I had at least about 600 titles. Whether or not that's accurate, because I did have a few Blu-ray editions. But yeah, I've got enough to work with as far as that's concerned. Um, Television show wise, I mean, I watched the new Castlevania, which I think we talked about the last time we actually had a physical episode. Since then, I did watch The Witcher, which it's fun. It definitely harkens back to a little Hercules Xena era back then. I guess I'm looking forward to the second season. It was so few episodes, I really didn't feel like the full investment. So it's one of those things where The Witcher, it's like it's gonna come and go, like many Netflix properties. There was Shrill on Hulu, which is the second season came out.
What's
Uh,
Shrill?
Shrill, it's a dramedy starring Adie Bryant from SNL, and it's basically just about a full-figured woman who's tired of being on the short end of things and pretty much just standing up for herself. But it's done with enough comic nuance that it's like, oh, I wish I could say the things that she does to these people. And being a bigger person, it is something that I definitely can relate to in some circumstances. I may not be a bigger woman, but I am a bigger man, and definitely some of the things that affect her have also affected me in the past. So it's one of those things where I feel comfortable watching her and how she deals with everything. I would definitely recommend it, especially if you're someone that likes the kind of comedy that you get with an SNL cast member every so often, but it's not SNL, very particular. It's produced by Lauren Michaels, but it's not as super crazy or campy like a Wayne's World would be. It's definitely a little bit more down to earth. So I definitely recommend it. Um, I caught up on the second season of Future Man on Hulu, so this way the third season is coming soon. I think sometime next month, so I'll definitely be looking for that. And we've discussed Future Man in the past. I don't
We
know if
have.
you.
I still have not watched it. I know of it, and it's on my radar. It's one of those shows. I'm weird. I have to, even if it's something I know I'm gonna like, I have to be in the mood to see it. And that when the mood strikes me is at the weirdest of times.
Oh, but I mean, yeah, I get that. I get that. But Future Man is just, it's so weird. And now that's got to have Seth Rogen for the third season.
Really?
Oh my God, I want to. Well, I mean, he produces it as it is, but to actually have him as a regular cast member as opposed to like the, just being like a guest star, it's really something that's going to be. I'm just going to enjoy because now they're just going to be like shifting all through time. It's going to be ridiculous. Um, as far as anime is concerned, I mean, winter of 2020 was really a help because there was quite a few good ones that I was able to watch before anything mainstream came back. Because I know we're getting another season of Food Wars. I know we're getting another season of ReZero, but for all I know, that stuff is like backtracked. So as
Do
far
you
as
like
anime,
ReZero? Because I've heard of ReZero, but I've been on the fence about whether that show's for me. What's your thoughts of it?
I mean, I'm Camp Rem as far as ReZero is concerned. I definitely think you should have chosen her. But outside of that, it's it's probably one of the better isekais out there. Only because we probably all figure that there's that fantasy of wanting to go into another world and all that. But let's face it, we'd all probably be like him and fuck up enough times where we die quickly. So to get like the constant redos, I really find is enjoyable because it's kind of like any other time travel sort of story in that sense where all right, you do what you can to get up to this one point and now you've learned what not to do, so now you fix it and you go back and forth. And I think that aspect of the show is a lot more enjoyable than the whole isekai point. So I'd say if you're a fan of time travel and if you're a fan of like, fixing the past, learning your mistakes, that sort of thing, becoming a better person by learning what not to do and what to do, watch it for that reason. Don't watch it just because it's an isekai.
I don't think you should ever use the isekai reason, considering how many isekais are out there right now.
Yeah, but you'd be surprised how many good ones there actually are in comparison to like the slew of ones that have come out. I saw one that was uh, out last year, but I just finally caught up on it now called Cautious Hero.
Oh God, that one.
Yeah, that was funny. I have to admit that was funny.
I I had a friend who made me watch the first few episodes. I don't. It's not really my type of show, but it is kind of hilarious. I will admit that it's weird. That's maybe that's
That's
the way I'll
weird.
put it. It's weird.
But oh my god, like the whole training montage when he's with like that one burly hero and like he starts like, no, I'm giving up on heroing. I'm gonna make cakes from now on. No, I don't want to train you anymore.
All
I'm
right,
like that.
since we're spoiling this anyway, basically the show is about a like it's an ET guy where there's a goddess and she needs to find a hero to save this world she's been put in charge of, and she finds this like person that is just overly cautious, not like a nerd, doesn't want to fight anyone. He's just like he over prepares for everything, and it's insane.
Well, the point is like he's powerful enough. That's why she's chosen him. He's like overpowered as is, but then he's taking like special precautions to make sure that there was apparently no failure whatsoever. So I mean, he could go ahead and kill somebody with one blow, and then he'll do the blow again, and then do the blow again, and then do the blow again, just to make sure that the person is dead. So you have like big explosion after big explosion after big explosion on one person that probably didn't even require it.
It's like they could regenerate Fire, fire, fire.
Fire, explode, kill the town, but kill this one thing for sure.
It's like you destroyed our church. Yes, but the monster shall not return.
Then he collects the ashes and then burns the ashes. Oh, I gotta stop.
I don't know. I'll probably get back to it at some point, but it definitely it does have its humor. And the part you were mentioning with the god he was training with, I won't get too far into it, but it is kind of funny where he's like, "Oh, he wants to train with a god, eh? Let's see what he's made of." And by the end of it, he's just like, "Never mind. I don't want any more of this myself."
And the funny thing about anime in that sense, there are also some animes that you actually learn things from, kind of like a Dr. Stone sort of thing, where like you'd watch the episodes and you'd like the story and you'd actually learn some science facts about it. There's one that just came out for Winter 2020 called Join the Pack Seton Academy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically about these two humans that go to this school that is populated by animals, anthropomorphic, but animals. So the guy, he hates animals. He doesn't even know why he's going to that school. And yet there's this one little wolf cub that goes ahead and wants to be like a big wolf boss, like an alpha. So
Mm-hmm.
she starts making her own pack of people, but because she's so low and she's the only wolf in the school, no one wants to join her pack. So she ends up joining with the two humans, and they start a cooking club, and then they get a koala, and a sloth, and a cat, and a panda. And mind you, the thing about the way these animals look, all the male animals pretty much just like anthropomorphic animals. Like they're pretty much just walking on hind legs and they've got like regular hands, but it's all animal, beastly fur, whatever. All the females pretty much just look like, you know, anime tropey girls where it's just like they look like a regular female, but they have
Of
like
course
bunny
they do.
ears or cat ears or it's weird that they went with that angle, but I can understand why they did. But you learn things about animals that I didn't even know about. Like I learned that female hyenas technically have a penis.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean it's not like
The
functional like
more
a
you
male's
know.
penis.
Do 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 do.
Yes, and you learn about koala eating habits, how they like to eat their mom's poop, and you learn panda secrets that obviously they don't eat well and are pretty dumb, and sloths pretty much die every time they fall asleep or their heart moves too fast. And they
Oh,
actually have that running joke. It's like she'll stand up, she'll say something, and then she'll just like fall down dead and be like, "Oh, she's dead," and actually like write it out. It's
what's
a
the name of the
fun.
show again?
It's called Join the Pack, Seton Academy. So like Seton Hall,
Mhm.
Seton.
All right. So I should point out there was another show just like that one that came out recently on Netflix called Beastars.
Yes, yes, I've heard about. Well, that's not so much like that, and it's more like Zootopia.
Yeah, very serious Zootopia, I should say. I actually did watch it. I thought it was a really, really good show. But you have to kind of be aware of what it is when you go in, so you know where not to watch it. I was watching it at it came out before everything started getting shut down, so I was still physically in the city on a weekend where like nothing's going on, so I could throw something on in the background while I'm working. So I threw this on, and yeah, don't do that. The show
Why is
might
there
have
some not suitable for work parts?
yes, there is.
Now,
uh
here's the thing: did you watch the original Japanese version with that audio, or did you watch the American voiceover dub?
I cannot remember. I think I may have actually put on the English dub just because I couldn't really pay attention to the subtitles as I was working. So
Right, but I think auditorily, English dubs aren't as notorious as, say, the original Japanese voice cast may be. Because I think even just in certain talking, the sound of the voice or whatever sounds they make are suspect in some cases. Even if it's normal back and forth dialogue, sometimes it just sounds bad.
yeah, it does. I don't know. I won't get into the debate right now, subs versus dubs, but some
Oh, that's
depending
a whole
on
episode.
Yeah, depending on the anime, like one does work better than the other. And this was one of the few cases where I didn't mind the English dub too much. The show itself is really cool. It's kind of they're using animals in a way to talk about sort of sexism and racism, and it works out in a way very, very well. Like it's basically a society is split between all these different animals, and each of them have their own characteristics. But the biggest cut is some are herbivores and some are carnivores. And because you're in a world where all animals think like humans, like where do carnivores get their meat? So that's one of the
Mm.
big parts of this, as well as like animals and how some are more powerful than others. Some of them are capable of doing things that others can't, and it makes for a really, really good anime. It feels like the rated R version of Zootopia. It really does.
Yeah, it's definitely in my queue. I haven't gotten to it yet, but I mean, from what I hear, it's one of the better ones that's come out of this the past year so far.
Yes.
So, I mean, obviously between Verve and Hulu and Netflix and Amazon, like there's enough outlets where you can find something that you like. It's just a matter of your own personal taste. Me, I like weird shit, So me and Dan Avidan. We're not furries, but I can appreciate anthropomorphic animals ever since I watched Robin Hood back in my youth. So
I'll go with that.
yeah, that's the safest way to put it.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're coming towards that time again to end things. Another great episode, the JT and Big O podcast. I don't know why I'm saying like great things like I'm Donald Trump. It's the best. It's the greatest it's ever. We should sell 10 of them. Uh, but we are going to be continuing to do shows going forward. We will be doing it in this format for the time being because safety first. And I don't know what else to say other than I thank you all, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us, and I hope you continue listening to us and watching us going forward. As
Well,
usual,
ladies and gentlemen, don't forget
la-
it is still March, so it's International Women's Month.
ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages.
There you go.
Except we don't go to children because YouTube said no on that, and I don't want to break any laws.
Thank you, Kappa.
Thank you, Kappa. There should be laws, but maybe we'll save that for another episode. Again, I am Video Geek JT. You can find me on videogeekjt.com. And I'll throw out my other social media here while I'm at it. VidGeekJT on Twitch, or on not Twitch, Twitter, and Video Geek JT on Instagram. I got to fix those at some point.
What, do it like me where it's like the same thing either way?
Yeah, I wanted to be Video Geek JT on Twitter, but I couldn't get it. I think I actually did, and it was on an email address that I no longer have. So that's in the ether forever. I'll figure out how to fix it one day.
All right. Well, in the meantime, to find me on everything, you can go to Real or Deal on Twitter or Instagram. That's REEL. And of course, you can always find Real or Deal Entertainment on Facebook. Same place you would also find the GT Big O page, which of course, like, subscribe, listen, do all the things that you're supposed to do to all that. And again, like I had said, definitely look for the next couple of days as we try to finish off International Women's Month with the most female star-studded branch of videos that I've done since. I promise everything will be tasteful.
He promises, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
And I should also point out, we do have a Facebook page. Follow us on JT and Big O on Facebook. We're also, of course, on Podbean, Spotify, YouTube. We are on Twitter, but I don't follow the account. But if you guys have any suggestions for things that we should put in the show or any comments, feel free to put them on our Facebook page, which we track regularly, or on. I'll be checking the hashtag JTBigO on Twitter. So if you have any comments, feel free to put them with that hashtag. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you again for joining us for another episode of the JT and Big O podcast. We'll return again next week. Till then, I hope you all do well. I wish you all the best in health, and I hope you all stay safe. Bye-bye.
For the love of God, don't go out unless you have to. Please.
Seriously, though, don't.
Yeah.